Good morning. In the name of the Ministry of Health, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce of Chiriquí for inviting the Department of Protection of Food in the section of Chiriquí for this project, Discover Experience, to this project, Experience Discover Chiriquí, Quality That Feels. We want to greet you from Dr. Gladys Molmona, person in charge of the Ministry of Health in the area of Chiriquí, Dr. Felipe Alaves, in charge of protection of food. This morning, my name is Irving Omar Monroy, Sanitation Registry of Food. In order to do the process for the permit of operation, we need the sanitation permit. Second step, certification of the plant in order to get to the sanitation registration of the product that we're going to register. Decree 176 of May 27, 2009 indicates the activities of high risk for implication of the health of the environment. The type of establishment for these activities has Decree 176 of May 27, 2019 indicate the activities related with situation of high risk for the public on implication of the health or environment, the different type of establishment that for their activity have for health interests and other dispositions. Is divided into category A, B, and C. Category A gathers activity due to its nature, composition, process, manipulation, and population to which is addressed. It has high probability of damage on the health and environment. It has two years validity, and this addresses slaughterhouses, supermarkets, has 2 years validity. B comprehends activity that for its nature, composition, process, manipulation, and population address has a medium probability to cause damage on the health and environment. It has a validity of 3 years, and these coffee factories conserve. It is divided in 3 categories: category A, category C. Category I comprehends activities that by its nature, composition, process, manipulation, and population to which is addressed has a high cause harm to health and environment. And it has a validity of 2 years, and some of the examples of this is slaughter of birds, slaughter of cattle, supermarkets, and restaurants. It has a validity of 2 years. Category B comprehends activity by its nature, composition, process, manipulation, and population to which is addressed has a medium probability to cause harm to the health and the environment. It has a validity of 3 years, and some of the examples on these ones are the coffee, preserve, and category C comprehend activity by its nature, composition, process, manipulation, and population to which is addressed has a less probability to cause harm to health and environment, has 5 years validity. And this is for sugar block factories, liquor factory, and candy factory. Once we have the sanitary permit that complies with all the conditions, physical and sanitary, then we move on to the process of the certification of the plant or factory. The certification of the factory is addressed for fishing, meat, milk, and other different food. There is a letter that has to be addressed to the national person in charge of the Department of Protection of Food in the city of Panama, who is Dr. Reinaldo Lima Turin. That letter has to be typed in a page, 8.5 by 14. It has a cost of $200 and a validity of 1 year. Once the $200 are paid in Panama City, they tell us here in the province to do the audit and evaluation. We can determine the conditions, sanitary conditions, and other requirements that we can ratify the good practices of manufacture, BPN, SSOP, and HACE, which are the documents needed in order to do the certification of the factory. The letter address, as I mentioned before, it needs a copy of the sanitation permit, copy of the legal representative, and it needs a copy of the permit of operation valid and $8 in fiscal stamp. Once the plant or factory is certified, we go for what is specific or what we're here really talking about. That is the registration, sanitary registration for food for the first time, or a renewal. It's also done in a page 8.5 by 14. In there, it needs to have the letter of request, a copy of the sanitation permit of operation, copy of the certification of the factory that is valid, simple copy of the public registry of the company. If it's a corporation, if it's a company, if it's run by just a single person, it doesn't need that document. And it's also, if it's renewal, if it's pending, it needs if it's renewal, the sanitary registration, which is pending. As I mentioned, the ID of the legal representative or owner of the company. In that document is also delivered a data sheet of the product, and that data sheet, it needs a list of the ingredients, which is the quantitative formula. It needs the elaboration method, the presentation, the life of the product, the interpretation of lot code. What is the product useful life? If it's a year, 6 months, 3 months, the lot or the interpretation of the lot code, which is not more than the date of the production of the product itself, the type and the materials and the packing. It is important what the label needs to have with the art identical to the original. The person can present the label or an art, which it carries the name of the food, the list of the ingredients, the content, net content of, or the weight that is produced. Important, what does the label need to have, or the art identical to the original? The person can present the label, the original label, or an art from it, where it has the name of the food, the list of ingredients, the net content, and also the weight, the name, address, and complete address and telephone of the manufacturer, the production of the lot, the expiration date. Important, what does the label need to have? Important, what does the label need to have? Or of the original. The person can present the label or an art where it needs to have the name of the food, the list of ingredients, the content, net content and weight, the name, complete address and telephone of the manufacturer, country of origin of the manufacturer, identification of the lot, the date of expiration, the name of factory, and the number of sanitary registry that is given at that case. It is also important to add that it has ingredients that can cause harm to the population that are sensitive. Once we have this documentation with the data sheet, we have to add to take to the Panama City for complete copies of the product. Present the payment receipt. In this case, a fiscal stamp of $10, and once this documentation with the data sheet, this documentation is together along with the data sheet, it has to be added to take to the Panama City for samples, complete samples of the product. It must present a receipt of payment, in this case a fiscal stamp of $10. The registration, when the certificate of sanitary registration was picked up, it needs to have a fiscal stamp of 5 years. The sanitary registration in Panama has a validity of 5 years. I would also like to mention, to make a summary, that through the years we have evaluated to help the artisan producers, that we have a legislation for artisans products. They also have to make a letter addressed to the National Director of Protection of Food, Dr. Reynaldo Lee, requesting the sanitary registration for a professional in a page 8.5 by 14, the same documentation that we have mentioned for the regular permit. And here it needs to be added the artisan ID issued by the Ministry of Culture. It also have to present a copy of the health ID, black and green, which has been issued by the Health Ministry, the personal identity with the Panamanian nationality. If it's a family business or individual business, if it's a family business, it can only be up to 5 workers. Association, up to 10 employees. Operation document where indicates the activity that they're doing, which is issued by the MISI, certificate of the public registry if it's not an individual, certification of business, artisanal business issued by the Board of Agro-Industrial Office. This is addressed in the MIDA, where they go and visit the factory or plant, and they're going to certify this company. Also needs to have good practice of manufacture, the program on cleaning and disinfectation of the areas in order to guarantee the product that comes from there complies with all the regulations, the description of the activity of each one of the products that are made, the list of equipment and tools that were used in order to make the product, the description of the infrastructure, the plane or a drawing seal of the factory, where we can see the process, how the process flows through the establishment, and that has to be presented. Later on, the sanitary inspection is done, and it needs to have a minimum points of 81. In the application of data sheet, good inspection, and of the product or drinks that are processed. We already saw the registration inscription, also the ID or card. We also saw that. In here, we're going to talk the sanitary registration of hygiene products. That's a Decree 855 of August 4, 2015. What are hygiene products? In this decree, is adopted in all its parts the normal text of all regulations or technical regulations in Central America, or RTCA for its initials, corresponding to the registration and sanitary registration, the labeling and the recognition of the sanitary hygiene products according to Law 26 of April 17, 2013. Which are these products? Which are these hygiene products that coming from through Paso Canoa or this Panama City, that include liquid cleaner, solid cleaner, aerosol cleaner, liquid dishwashing, solid dishwashing, bar soap, liquid softener, bleacher, liquid softener, towel softener, bleacher, anti-grease liquid, sprays for the environment, liquid disinfectant, solid disinfectant, air disinfectant, liquid polish, paste polish, python locker, brighteners, anti-grease liquid, semi-solid anti-grease locker. These, once they bring the product through Paso Canoa, now we have APA, which is the agency of food that is the one that will take care of all the documentation, which they have a warehouse in our country. They need to take also the sanitary permit. Once they have the sanitary permit validated by our department, it will be presented in the food department in order to enter the country. For more information and to access to all of the documentation that we have shown today, you can access www.minsa.gov.pa. In information of health, you enter the link of the Department of Food, and you can see all the information in order to have the sanitary registration of food for artisanal products or for hygiene products. Thank you very much for your attention.